Everybody, welcome to another episode of On the Bench presented by Knowles 24/7. And I did a little bit of dramatic pause because we are on the eve of the biggest holiday of the year. And sorry, big man JC, in our world, that's early signing day. We are on the final weekend before early signing day eve. There were visits, there were commits. We just got a commit. Like we're recording on Sunday night. Colorado interior offensive lineman Casey Roddick decides to pull the trigger. Mike Norvell is scorching hot in the portal. High school, I think that's a fun question that we could have. Some people would say not as much. We'll get all to that, Zach. If you can watch us on the video stream right now, you look way more like rejuvenated than I expected you after the weekend, dude. The updates have been fast and furious. The news has been great. The news hasn't been so great, but I know that you, Chris, and Brendan have been on the end of all these scoops, man. You look way better than I expected, to be quite honest with you.
Thank you. I guess that's a compliment. I mean, it's been a busy.
I expect you to look much worse.
Yeah, it's been a busy weekend, but honestly, we've been really efficient in getting our work done. Now it's just about making phone calls and seeing how visits went, trying to get legit info out there. So not trying to put any fabricated stuff for you guys. Trying to get all the correct info and get it to you guys in a quick and efficient manner. But obviously that takes some time to get it legit. So that's what we've been working on, and that's kind of, I think, I've gotten some leisure time. We kind of knocked out all the visit updates this morning. Just talked to the Colorado offensive line new FSU commit, Casey Roddick, within the past 30 minutes, and 10 minutes after he we stopped talking, he goes and commits to FSU after telling me he'd have a decision within the next week.
In your face, Zach. Yeah. Got to get that pre-write up pretty quick, brother.
Yeah. So, two stories on him on Knowles 24/7 right now, if you want to see. He actually kind of gave like a cool. He said that he talked with Jordan Travis and Maurice Smith about on the visit, and they were just kind of saying that the basic stuff, but that FSU's culture is very unique, and just talking positive, giving rave reviews about FSU and Mike Norvell, and I think that helped FSU a lot in landing his commitment.
Adam, how you feeling, big guy? We're going to need you here to help break down the play of some of these guys. We're going to need the technical man.
Breaking down the play.
Yes, I'm only here to break down film.
Yeah, Adam's...
I've been called a lot of things on the Knowles 24/7 message board today. Passionate. I've been called an idiot. I've been called many things today, and I have a lot of thoughts and feelings.
Today, you're just going to be a great evaluator.
You are, dude. You're our guy.
That's what I'm here for. I'm here to not get fined.
Oh, that's fantastic. I can't wait for your natural opinion to start seeping through when Zach and I have this guy. You won't be able to contain yourself, but he's going to be our top tier. Of course, you can't really dissect an early signing day performance. Early signing day is not till Wednesday, so we can't praise it or beat it up till it hasn't happened. But I look forward to your natural opinion starting to seep through. So let's start off with the softball. Florida State gets the commitment of interior offensive lineman Casey Roddick, one of 3 transfer portal linemen that were on campus this weekend, correct?
Yes. Yeah, 3.
One was a surprise. We'll get to him. It's been such a roller coaster this entire weekend. But Adam, what do you think about Casey Roddick's game? Excited for the commit, potential starter? What do you think?
Literally just got off the StreamYard with Kev breaking his film down. So when you are done with us, go over to X's and Knowles and check out that video, our breakdown of Casey Roddick. Make sure you go to Knowles 24/7 and check down all the info on him. I'm a big fan. We watched his all 22 against Oregon from this past year. He was starting at left guard. Thought he played really well against a big, long 3-tech. Thought he handled him real well in the run game. There's some stuff I think he could clean up, but he's a veteran presence. A guy that's going to come in and be solid. I think he's a lot like Dylan Gibbons. I don't know if he's as good as Dylan, because I thought Dylan was actually pretty darn good. But I think he's a guy that you could plug and play, and you're going to be able to count on him. He played like 707 snaps last year.
Oh wow!
So durability seems to check. A Chris Neism checks the box there. I think he's a guy you're just going to be able to depend on, and that's in a year where they're kind of pushing their chips in here to make a run at it. I think that's really important.
Okay. Is that what did you think? I largely agree with you, Adam. I think that this was a good, solid veteran hand to have on the offensive line. One where they're bringing in a lot of guys back from last year, but the interior with Gibbons being gone, Dimitri Emmanuel being gone, it's a focus. It's a focus for the staff, and you could tell because they had him in. They had Keandre Jones, the guard prospect from Auburn, that was in. They've had Jeremiah Byers, who I think you slot him as an interior guy at the next level of football, right, Adam? At the P5 level, if he comes to FSU.
Yeah, my opinion.
Yeah, which you have a great opinion, man. Don't let those people on the message board get you down. I think you have a wonderful opinion. Zach, what'd you make of Casey Roddick's visit? I mean, was this something to where even if it didn't happen 5 seconds after he told you it wouldn't, would you have expected this to come down the pike pretty shortly?
Yeah, I mean, he told me within a week, so I guess it was within his timeline.
He didn't lie to you.
Maybe he could have been a little bit more strict on that timeline, but hey, just happy that the FSU got the commitment. No, I thought right when FSU got involved with him, when he entered the portal, I think it was 2 weeks ago now, whatever December 5th was, it's all jumbled up in my mind. But
Days.
Yeah, so whenever they got involved, I was basically under the understanding that FSU had made a really quick move with him and a really great move. And from that point on, I really viewed him as FSU's to lose. He did take the NC State official visit this past weekend. FSU gets him in this weekend. I know they felt good coming out of the visit after some conversations I had earlier today. Then obviously spoke with Casey. That story's on Noles 24/7 if you want to read that. And then shortly thereafter commits. So yeah, I think it was a recruitment that FSU got in early on when he entered the portal and had some really early momentum, and that kind of carried over into landing his commitment just a few weeks later.
Let's once again, huge success. Mike Norvell killing it in the transfer portal. There were so many different names. There were Florida State commits on campus. There were a surprise transfer prospect from Miami, offensive lineman John Campbell. There was the literal top 2 or top 3 overall transfer portal prospect in the country in Fentrell Cypress, the DB from VA. But the guy who got the most pub was a Florida State commit who's been committed for a while, who didn't even come for an official visit. He came for a short, unofficial visit, and that is defensive end, top 100 player, Keldrick Faulk. Now, when this visit happened, it wasn't even set in stone, right? It was, is he going to go to Auburn or is he going to come to FSU? If he comes to, it was what his recruitment was almost, it seemed dependent on what he was going to do this weekend. You get him to come in for the unofficial. Zach, we broke it on Thursday night. He called you up. He was at the game. He was at the basketball game with Mike Norvell. Like I said, you and him were switching emojis and stuff. He gets to FSU. Win for the good guys. He's at Auburn today.
Yeah.
Tell me about that, because you have a really good relationship with Keldrick. Let me know, how did that materialize? Was this something that had always been planned, but, Florida State staff didn't know about it, or did they know about it? Give me the background on this visit that has a lot of people shaken up about this recruitment.
Yeah, so lots to unpack here. AV will get into his film later.
That's it. No opinions of anything else. Just this is the play.
Yeah, so like you said, on Thursday, confirmed that he was going to take the FSU visit. The whole week, I asked him, are you taking the FSU visit, and are you taking any other visits? He always basically just said just the FSU visit. But there was always kind of a weird answer to those questions. And I try to portray that in my reporting, but especially after I talked to him over the weekend. So, makes it in on Saturday, literally made it in 10 minutes before the groundbreaking, attended the groundbreaking of the football only facility. Mike Norvell greeted him along with some of the other coaches and some of the commits that were there upon his arrival, made it over there, spent the rest of the day at FSU on Saturday. And left basically early on Sunday. The FSU staff, I confirmed, did spend time with him really early Sunday morning. So I got some FaceTime in today before he left to go to Auburn. So here's where it gets tricky. I spoke to Keldrick on his way up, when he was on his way up to Auburn. Got an interview basically recapping the FSU visit. All positive quotes. I mean, he was saying we a bunch. I know the Noles 24/7 message board obsesses over, this recruit say we. That
the inclusive language, us. Yeah. Is he talking like he's on the team? Yeah.
He used a ton of that. So if you want, take that for what it's worth. I don't put too much stock into what kids say. But I think it got interesting, right? We had kind of heard that he had made it to Auburn's campus Steve Wiltfong put up the official report that he was taking a I don't know if it's unofficial or official to Auburn today, because it's literally just a 1 day or less than 1 day visit, I guess.
It could be official because they have a new head coach. He had already exhausted his with Brian Harsin.
Yes. Believe they drove up straight from FSU. They left really early in the morning from FSU. That wasn't unplanned. But so when the word started getting out, from what I understand, I don't think FSU had a great idea this was happening. I think they thought it was a possibility. But I do not think that Keldrick told them for sure that he was going to Auburn today. And I think that's a red flag, right? That's
absolutely.
So that's definitely something I would note. I'm going to save my judgments for how this recruitment unfolded until after signing day, because I still think that FSU has a shot to sign him for sure. They got him on campus this weekend. It'd be one thing if he just chose to go to Auburn the entire weekend and didn't visit FSU, but he did visit FSU and had positive things to say. So, give them credit there, but they needed to get him to not visit Auburn, and that goal was not finished. So, obviously there's some critiques on that front. He's an in-state kid, obviously from Alabama. It makes a lot of sense why Auburn would have some momentum in this recruitment, but this is a kid that's been on record saying many times that relationships matter, right? Well, this is where relationships need to come through. You have multiple guys on the staff that have known Faulk for years, whereas Auburn staff has basically had a 2-week relationship with him, going in home and then, getting him on campus today. So the next 3 days are going to be insanely vital in this recruitment. Like, it's going to be really interesting to see. This is a battle that FSU absolutely needs to win. You cannot lose, a guy of this caliber at the high school rank to a new coaching staff. Obviously, Hugh Freeze is creating a lot of buzz over there at Auburn, but Keldrick has gone and said that he cares about relationships. This isn't a guy that chose FSU in the summer based on NIL deals, because I know he could have gotten a better NIL deal somewhere else. He was picking between Clemson, Florida, Tennessee, and Auburn. So it's been reported that Auburn has a huge war chest of NIL money to work with. And I think we've seen kind of the results of that on the recruiting trail already for Hugh Freeze and that staff. So now this next couple of days is going to be really important. I think the biggest thing to note is that there is a red flag that FSU wasn't made fully aware of Keldrick Faulk's plans today. So that's what I want to say about it. As far as critiques and stuff, I'll get into that on signing day if things go south. But FSU still has a shot to sign Keldrick Faulk, and I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that he's going to Auburn or anything like that. We'll report on it in the coming days, but that's what I have as of right now.
What level of contact can Florida State have with Keldrick Faulk and all of these recruits up until Wednesday? Are there any restrictions on it? Have all of the in-home visits been exhausted? What can they actually do to make a final impression?
It's all electronic communication.
Emojis, kebabs for days. Yes.
Once the clock hits midnight tonight, visits can't happen on or off campus. So coaches can't go see players. Players can't go visit campuses for the entirety of the dead period. It's a dead period. So up until signing day and actually after that, a few weeks after that, players aren't going to be on campuses. Coaches are not going to be on the road. So this is all electronic communication. This is where relationships come in big. You got to get on the phone with a kid and convince him to sign with your school. I mean, it's stating the obvious, but that's kind of where how communication is going to be done over the next few days.
Let me ask you this, and we're not going to get into the critiques or anything like that, but what do you think is more likely? Keldrick Faulk has emphasized that relationships matter. Florida State has had the longest and the most fruitful one with him by far. Is Keldrick Faulk, did he overemphasize how much the relationships actually mattered, or is there some point in this recruitment that you can pinpoint because you have a close relationship with him, Zach, as far as communicating things like that? Did the relationship with Florida State deteriorate at all, or did Hugh Freeze come in and blow his new relationship out of the water, right? Either the kid's overemphasizing the impact of relationships or Florida State's relationship deteriorated or what have you. What do you think it is?
Yeah, I mean, I can't read his mind, so I don't know how much.
Sure,
but
if you don't know, you don't know.
Yeah, my guess would be he over exaggerated how much relationships matter, right? He had been telling people on record that the only way I'm flipping from Florida State is if there's like a coaching change, something drastic. He used
at FSU, FSU, a coaching change.
Exactly. Yep. A change in one of his position coaches, which obviously hasn't happened. Coach John Papuchis, off-field analyst Austin Tucker is heavily involved in that recruitment. Adam Fuller, Mike Norvell, all those people are on staff and are going to stay on staff up until signing day, barring anything crazy. So that hasn't changed. So what I think this is the hometown school trying to make inroads really quickly. They have some, juice on the trail. They've landed some quality commitments, especially today, from guys that have been on campus this weekend. They got, Devin Leary on campus. There's just a lot of going on. And obviously with Faulk being an in-state kid, he's hearing about all this. So, maybe that has something to do with it. I don't know exactly what's going on in the kid's head. From what I've been told, the kid has a hard time saying no. So maybe, Auburn all week is on the phone with him, trying to convince him to visit. And he can't say no. So maybe that's part of it. I think that's kind of coming from, what FSU staff believes about this situation. This isn't going to be an easy fight, but, we'll see what this FSU staff is made up of over the next couple of days.
And Adam, I'm going to get to you to get your thoughts on his play, his impact on the field, what Keldrick Faulk brings. But Zach, and this is for context, we're recording live on Sunday night. If anything is subject to change, it is 100% high school recruiting.
Yeah.
But as it stands right now, Zach, if you want to get into it, if you had to put money on it, does he sign with FSU on Wednesday or somebody else? Right now, Sunday night, it could change. If you don't want to answer, that's fine.
No, I'll answer. I think, I don't know. Like if you're following, kind of how this recruitment shaped out, like it wouldn't make a lot of sense for him to be completely locked in and not let FSU staff know about the visit, right? Like if his relationships are so great here. So right now I'll probably go 51% Auburn, 49% FSU. That's like where I'm leaning.
That's kind of where I am, like razor's edge, right? Yeah. And it's not the fact that they got him to visit at all unofficially on his own dime, and they had like similar time with visits, and the length of the relationship that he's had with Hugh Freeze, that doesn't concern me. But man, the fact that the staff didn't know, it gives me vibes of like a Tyree West or like a Travis Hunter, some things that have been happening underneath the surface that we all kind of knew about, but it seems like they're almost like an iceberg, right? You only see the tip, and then underneath there's some stuff going on. So we'll see. That'll be,
And I think like an important thing to note is like the good thing is that they did get word of the visit, because from what I understand, the Auburn staff was trying to keep this undercover. They did not want the visit getting out.
Oh, surprising from Hugh Freeze. Yeah, absolutely.
So, the visit got out, like word of the visit. If Wilt Fong was going to report it, we were going to report it because we had, got wind of it happening, and we're going to put it out there. So the good thing is this is not going to be a Tyree West and Travis Hunter situation.
Completely caught off guard.
Yeah,
right.
Where they're caught off guard on signing day. They have days, leading up to signing day to work this recruitment, work their relationships, and try to get Keldrick Faulk to stay, committed to FSU and sign with FSU in just a few days. So that's a positive. At least they have a warning of another team getting in the mix. So do want to note that. But right now, not looking the best. If you're kind of if you've been following recruiting for any sort of period of time, how these recruitments usually go. But I think this one's a little unique just because of him making 2 visits in one weekend. Usually, if a kid's going to flip, he's probably just going to go visit that school and that school.
Right.
So he's it feels like that's why I'm like kind of.
The kid feels like he's 50-50. The tail of the visits are like you're almost in his head. It kind of feels like.
Yeah. And there were no negative like vibes from when he was here on Saturday. Like everything seemed normal. Nothing was unusual. We were out there kind of, watching him arrive. And then when I called him on the phone this morning, it was a completely normal interview aside from, when I asked him, so are you like completely locked in? He's like, I'm pretty locked in.
Yeah, pretty mostly like locked in.
So obviously he was like, kid wasn't trying to lie to me, but like, I'm sure the Auburn staff did not want him telling people, especially reporters, that, he was visiting Auburn that day. They were trying to keep it under wraps. So I assume that's, kind of why he was a little coy with me. But I'll keep working it this week and kind of see where this thing unfolds. And like Trey said, hey, this thing could change one way or the other 30 times over the next 3 days. Like this is how these recruitments go. So, what I'm saying right now might be completely irrelevant in the morning who knows? FSU is going to try to obviously get on the phone with Keldrick as soon as possible and try to see where his mind is at. So we'll see where things unfold.
I don't know. Maybe we can like sing his mom happy birthday or something. Adam, what do you think about Keldrick's game? Why is this guy so imperative to keep as a member of your class?
He's a big, explosive athlete that they need. I mean, they can't keep rolling out the 6'3", 230-pound defensive ends. Like, they've got to get bigger, stronger, faster on the edges. We saw them get exposed against Florida. They need big, fast athletes like this on their defensive line. These are the SEC body types that matter in college football if you're going to take the next step. So if you're going to go compete in the playoffs, you got to have guys like this you can get in your program and you can develop. I don't care how much it. I don't want to use the wrong phrasing here. I will. I don't care how much it costs. Make it happen.
Well, investment. How much investment from an energy and a program standpoint do you? How much value do you put in a athlete of this caliber?
How much do I?
No, I don't get to like Jesus. No, I'm trying to. I'm trying to widen it out. I'm trying to be. How much value does the program, do people surrounding the program put in this? And of course, value is subjective. Different programs value different things at a different order of magnitude. We'll just see how the perspectives line up on this one. Am I right, Adam? Did I?
Yeah, and I would just
do that. Okay.
I would caution all the folks that are in the comment section right now. There's apparently some reporting that Faulk has said he's shutting it down and going to be a Knoll or something.
What
like
did
that.
I say? What did I say?
50, mostly pretty 51% Auburn.
If you haven't paid attention to recruiting, I promise you nothing's been shut down.
Okay, so TBD, Keldrick Faulk TBD. Oh, God, it's going to be such a fun ride. You poor boy, Zach. I feel for you. Anyway, let's talk about another guy, another surprise visitor. Miami offensive lineman tackle transfer, John Campbell. He was the guy that showed up, I think, on Saturday, Zach. Was he a guy? I hope you didn't lie to me on Thursday. Was this a surprise guy you were sitting on? Were you lying to your old buddy, or is this a total shock to everybody?
The visit. Surprise. On Saturday, night, you can.
I trust you.
Yeah,
okay.
You can ask Chris and Brendan or Dane. I was kind of working that kind of within my own head. I don't know. It was weird. Basically, I was tracking planes. I was a freak when it came to that.
Workhorse, baby, workhorse all over the place.
I had kind of got wind of it happening that day, but it wasn't for sure.
Okay.
And then Daryl Jackson posted an Instagram live, the Miami defensive tackle that is already committed to FSU and that officially visited this weekend. And he posted it with a dude that looked awful like John Campbell. Awfully like John Campbell. And then I asked a source whether he was on campus, and they confirmed he was. So, that's kind of how that one broke.
So he went. What time did he get there? How long did he say? What do we think about this recruitment?
Yeah, he got there on Saturday afternoon. So he had entered the portal officially on Friday. So he was not able to start visiting schools until he obviously entered the portal.
Right.
But we had a good idea that FSU was going to pursue him once he entered the portal because he had announced his intentions to do so earlier that week. He officially enters the portal on Friday and then is on campus at FSU the next day. Took a flight up. I believe he got there, on Saturday mid-afternoon, kind of 4 or 5 p.m. Spent some time around the staff that night. And then most of the visit kind of took place on Sunday. And then declined to do interviews. I think FSU sits in a good spot with John Campbell. I think, I spoke to someone close to this one, and from what I understood, before the visit, he had expressed interest in coming to FSU. And I want to throw this kind of tidbit out there. I believe that. Sorry, I'm looking at text and stuff.
That's all right.
I believe that,
baby. You got it.
This is the time of the year when that stuff's going to happen. I believe that if FSU is hosting a transfer prospect on campus, you can almost 100% assume they are a take for FSU. They put a lot of value into that. I confirmed that today. That's FSU's mindset behind it. Although, they could deny a kid of being a take if they kind of fail the test of he has some red flags or whatever on the visit. He does something weird or, whatever. He just doesn't fit, they're trying to do.
Gotcha. Understood. That makes sense. Because this is obviously recruiting to try to get them in. There is a level of evaluation in there, how they fit with the team, what they do when they're in Tallahassee.
If they're a complete a-hole and just not engage with the visit at all, like they have the opportunity to like just not, to cut that one off like they do with any recruitment. But you can pretty much assume that if FSU is hosting a transfer prospect on campus, that kid's a take. So, I know a lot of people are asking, would they take all 4 offensive linemen that they're involved with in the portal? I think they would, because they have hosted all 4 of those kids on official visits.
What do we think of his game, Adam? Because he's on campus, he's a take, he's a guy that Florida State knows they've game planned against, and we think we're in a really good spot for him. So what do you think about his game? Big addition, in your opinion?
Yeah, Miami people are, we're glad he's gone. Yes, go ahead, do that. Miami people are like, oh yeah, we're glad he's gone, and I'm seeing
that very deep roster that they're carrying right now.
I'm seeing a lot of our fan base, they're immediately jumping on that, like, oh, Miami doesn't even want him. Why do we want him? Yada yada yada. Look, I went back in and watched a few things and watched a little bit of his game from last year. That team we know is a mess. I think he's a really good pass blocker, which is something that I think Florida State lacks at the tackle position. Bless Harris is a guy that's an unknown. Armella is a sophomore. We're going to find out what he is as he continues to develop. And I think he's going to develop by fire. I think his feet are going to get in there next year. He's going to get a ton of reps. Rob Scott, good run blocker, not a great pass blocker. He's a solid tackle, but not elite by any stretch of the imagination. And he's a guy who has had a lot of injuries in his time at Florida State. So for me, while for Miami, they're like, hey, we're bringing in 2 5-star offensive tackles. We want to get those guys time. Who knows what else is going on with them. For Florida State, I think it makes a ton of sense to bring in John Campbell in. You have him. You can slot him in as a backup offensive lineman and say, all right, here's a guy I know we're going to be able to count on if we need to get into the depth of the position. He's not a great run blocker, but he is a really solid pass blocker. He had like a 77 pass blocking grade with PFF.
It's really good, yeah.
It is, but PFF is whatever. I'm not.
It's a good. It's not the be all end all, but it's a good barometer of what qualities they have, right?
Right. And I really trust Alex Atkins to unlock something in any kid's game that they bring in here. So I think it's a really solid take for where they're at and what they're trying to accomplish this offseason of pushing the chips in, make a run at the ACC, make a run at a playoff position. You've got Jordan Travis. You need to be able to keep him upright. So this is a guy that if you got to get into your depth, you don't have to go to a Jalen Early. You can go to a John Campbell who has started a ton of games in the ACC and done pretty well in his time. So I think this is for what Florida State is. Any other time I would say, I don't know, I'd pass. But you need tackle depth. They need 4 solid bodies that they can rely on there. You've got 3, I think, right now, and 2 of those are unknowns. This is a guy that's a known commodity that I think you can rely on.
And I'll tell you what, man, Florida State was a 9-win team, should have been a 10-win team. They didn't have Jason Turntine, a guy that we kind of like belabored multiple times to see if he was worth a scholarship or not. Yeah. Who knows how many wins you would have got, especially during the meat of that schedule, man. So I'm with you. Beef up. The kid is capable. Alex Atkins, he's going to improve at Florida State. He's already got a very valuable skill set in pass blocking, in my opinion. That is tough. Like that's a good thing to have. We can coach him up on the run game, especially with all the exotic stuff that Mike Norvell does from like a run blocking scheme. So I feel good about it. Moving on, let's just stick to the other offensive linemen. Keandre Jones from Auburn. Zach, what did you think about Keandre's visit? Did you get a good experience? Did he tell you he was going to commit in a week, and then maybe he'll drop an edit while we're talking? What did you think about Keandre Jones, the guard from Auburn?
Yeah, I think he had a great visit. He was one of those 2, him and the defensive tackle, Western Michigan kid,
Braden Fisk.
Yeah. They both came in on Thursday and started their visits a little bit earlier than the rest of the guys that came in this weekend. And he left on Saturday to actually go over to UCF for kind of a midweek or split the weekend visit to go over there. I think the visit actually went really well. He has a lot of connections at FSU. player wise, and really gelled with Alex Atkins on the trip. He did not elect to do an interview afterwards, but he's a guy that I expect to make a decision in the near future. He's taken kind of a good bit of visits over the past 2 weeks. I believe West Virginia, FSU, UCF, and maybe Pitt as well. Haven't confirmed that directly. That's a school that we had heard mentioned with him that likely a visit happened for him within the past couple weeks. So I don't expect him to take his recruitment too much longer as he tries to get into a program at the beginning of January. To enroll for offseason conditioning and then spring ball. I think FSU sits in a good spot. I was told they felt pretty good about him coming out of the weekend. We'll see kind of where things go over the next couple of days. I think maybe a timeline would be, this week for his decision. Have not heard that directly through him, just through talking to people that were around him this weekend. So, we'll see what happens. But FSU sits in a pretty good spot from what I understand.
Would the impact of Roddick's commitment have anything on this at all, as far as, because all these kids are looking for playing time? Like, is that something that he obviously knew he was on the official visit while Casey was there as well? Do we think that this is gonna affect that at all, or it may even be a positive? You get the more talented guys to play with on the offensive line.
Yeah, from what I just picked up, Brendan actually let me know he's hearing that maybe
Brendan.
Casey Roddick is coming into play center for FSU.
Interesting.
So that's interesting. Keandre Jones would be more of a guard type for them for sure. So that would be obviously different position on the line. I don't think it hurts at all. And like I said, because they brought in all those guys in OVs, regardless of what any of those guys does, if they commit to another school, if they commit to FSU, I think they'd still all be takes. So yeah, I don't think it affects Keandre's recruitment at all. I think he'll be a take at FSU regardless of who commits, even if more guys than Casey Roddick join the class.
Adam, what do you think about that? What do you think, Keandre? What do you think about Casey Roddick potentially being a center? It's interesting. We tried to get a center last offseason. We did, from Wisconsin, to push Maurice Smith. Unfortunately, Caden Lyles got hurt, but I thought that was a competition that looked like Maurice was looking to win maybe outright anyway if Caden wasn't hurt. So that's interesting. What do you think about all that news that Zach just said, Adam?
Yeah, I like Jones. Thought that he played a little overweight last year. Have been watching some of his film here recently just to try to get to know the prospect. Thought he played a little heavy last year. Thought in 2021 he played a lot better, looked more in shape. He only started 2 games for Auburn last year. They were another program that was just a mess. They were a real mess, especially offensively, defensively last season. So it's hard to get a great gauge on where those guys' games were, where their head was in the season, because that can be tough. That can be difficult. He's a guy in 2021 who looked motivated, looked in better shape, and his game showed that. It reflected it. He was a guy who started all 12 games for them that year. This year, past season, he starts 2. So he's a big boy. He's big Mauler type, and I think that plays well for what they want to be. He kind of reminds me of Meach. That their games are somewhat similar. So I would be happy with that take. I think he's a guy that I think he's another guy that they kind of evaluated early and thought this is worth pursuing. And I tend to agree with him. Roddick at center.
Yeah, what do you think about that?
Surprised me a little bit. He's physical. Like I said, go watch the video when we're done here, and you see how he is initially in the run game. He's not great climbing to the second level, but he does a pretty good job initially and anchors well. I just feel like you got a known commodity in Mo, so I'm not sure why they, is it just one of those deals they just want to bring in another lineman, want to have more competition, that type of thing. Make sure Marith is being pushed. You're muted, Zach.
You're muted, Zach. It's the first time I've ever gotten to say that to you. Yeah, go ahead.
Usually I'm telling that to Chris or something, but no, I'm asking Brendan for more context on it, but he kind of texted that to our group chat a couple minutes ago, so I wanted to share it.
Yeah. And it's interesting. I could see it. Again, a player who's played a lot of football, played a lot of snaps, so he's going to understand protections, how to do all that stuff, get them in and out of the right slides, make sure they're picking up blitzes. He showed there's some really good clips in the video we did of him picking out blitzes and kind of taking or controlling stunts as they were coming at him. So I'm not against it. if you don't land Byers, is he a guy that plays guard? I feel like he's a guy who's probably his role is going to be TBD, to be defined as the class develops.
I think so too. He's a good chance to be a starter just because of all of his experience and his skill set. But I mean, Florida State center depth. I mean, guys, luckily we never had to figure out what the nightmare scenario would be if Maurice Smith got hurt. But that was something that was staring us right at the face at the beginning of the season. Who is the backup center right now? But let's pretend. I mean, we got Casey Roddick, so I guess technically it could be
Bryson
him.
Estes probably, right? I mean,
yeah, and that's a kid that we've heard some good stuff, but you don't technically want to throw them into the fire. So once again, the versatility, kind of the cross training, the cross recruiting, I like it. I like that he's got the versatility. I don't know if he's going to end up at center. That'll be an interesting off-season storyline. Braden Fisk, the Western Michigan defensive tackle that Zach mentioned earlier, he showed up early with Keandre. This is a kid, Fabian Lovett right now, Jared Verse. Their fates are still in their own hands. We don't know if they're coming back or yet. We don't know if they're testing the NFL draft. Florida State needs some help in the interior. They got it with Darrell Jackson, that Miami transfer, who was official visiting this weekend as well. But Braden Fisk, he's a different type of animal. Obviously, we'll have Adam explain his game a little bit. But Zach, what'd you think about this kid? This is a kid that is a Midwestern guy. He officially visited Notre Dame. He's got a Notre Dame offer. I think after this, he went to Southern Cal, right? After this?
Yeah. So like I said, with Keandre Jones comes in on Thursday, spends a few days around the staff, then heads out kind of for that, part the weekend and a half and go to another school for the rest of the weekend. So you get 2 visits in. I think it went really well for FSU. A cool, little unique thing on this recruitment is that his old roommate, shout out Brendan Sonone, but his old roommate at Western Michigan is Florida State tight end / special teams star Wyatt Rector.
Absolutely. Glue the team, salt of the earth, foundational piece, Wyatt Rector. Give him his due.
Yeah, I was watching that Oregon State UF game. They had the guy, I think they call him the sledgehammer, right? So he's kind of the do-it-all dude. But yeah.
Yeah, a little diet Rector. He's not like our guy.
So yeah, spent a lot of time around him, which was super beneficial, I heard. Kind of just chopped it up with him for multiple hours. Obviously did all the basic visit stuff. Part of that visit, the Thursday portion, FSU's some of FSU staff was still on the road. Like I know Norvell, that was the night he went in home with Keldrick Faulk late at night. He came in on Friday morning, so he was with him the rest of the visit. But just an interesting little, note, I guess.
Yeah.
But he was still around staff members. Off-field guy Shane Burnham is a defensive line analyst for them. And he spent a lot of time with Braden over the weekend. I think the visit went well. Obviously, a lot of this intel is coming in before his trip to USC concluded, which it should be over soon. Obviously, West Coast time. We'll probably try and host him as late as possible with the dead period occurring at midnight tonight. But he's a guy that he's taken visits to Notre Dame, FSU, and USC. I think before the USC visit. I guess that the common notion is that obviously Notre Dame is the biggest competition. They're the school that's only within an hour drive of where he lives in Michigan City, Indiana.
Yes, correct,
right?
Absolutely. Yep.
I know that was funny to some staff members that were over there last week. Just kind of explaining to their spouses like, "Hey, I'm over in Michigan. Never mind, I'm in Michigan City, Indiana." I don't know. That was pretty funny of note that I got from this past week. But because you're trying to tell
it's a deep cut, brother.
Yeah.
That's a deep cut.
I don't know. It was just something I picked up. But yeah, I think the visit went well. We'll see where this one goes. As far as the transfers, I don't have a huge read on this. I think this is more of Brendan is kind of taking the reins of this recruitment.
Okay.
With YY being his guy. So there's a connection there. So we'll see. I know we're trying to get up with Braden over the next 24 hours to try and recap the FSU visit and kind of see what's next. So I guess that'll be the next time, unless we hear stuff behind the scenes.
So obviously get more. Yeah, we'll get more feedback. Obviously, any idea of his timeline? When is he looking to make a decision in this next couple days, this next week? Is he looking to take more visits? I know they can in early January. What's his timeline look like? Do we have an idea of that?
I honestly don't know with him specifically because we haven't gotten him on record since, after the visit. But we'll be sure to ask him that for, when we get him on record and kind of talk about recap the trip and kind of preview what's next, because that'll obviously be really important. If he takes it into January, that likely means he'll take some more visits. If not, then he'll decide probably between these 3 schools that he took visits to in December.
Huge transfer. Adam, talk about your boy Braden.
Yeah, he's a pass rusher. I mean, he's an interior pass rusher. That's something they need. Has had a ton of pressures in his career at Western Michigan. Long, physical, just kind of one of those country strong boys that that always seem to find success on the defensive line. They did a lot of twisting and stunning with him at Western Michigan. Always seem to just kind of find a way to get in the backfield and get to the quarterback. There is some curiosity of how well his game will translate to the ACC level. Is his speed going to play? All those things.
Right.
I'm pretty optimistic about him. I think he's a pretty solid player. I think he'd be a really big get. You plug him next to a Darrell Jackson. If Dennis Briggs remains on the inside, you've got some pass rushing guys in there, which I think is important. That's something I thought they lacked last year. Jared Verse needs a running mate, not on the opposite side, but guys to push the pocket and not let the quarterback step up. So
more disruptive, not space eater guys. You got to have the mix of the space eater and then the wrecking crew type guy.
Yeah, you want a gap shooter, a guy that's going to be able to get up the field, beat these interior offensive linemen, and get in the quarterback's face and harass them so they can't step up and let Jared Verse make his hay if he was to return. So, I mean, I think Fisk would be a good get. We'll see. Seems like Notre Dame maybe is the favorite there, but Brendan's going to get the scoop. He's going to get the lowdown. Him and YY are going to sit down, share a cup of coffee or something. Maybe a little bagel. Who knows?
A scone, maybe a scone.
It's hard to tell.
Well, speaking of Brendan getting scooped, Zach he's scooping as we speak. So we're going to talk about the next transfer portal guy that was on the best transfer portal defensive back in the entire country, Fentrell the Deuce Cypress. Adam, what do you think of his game, man? Are you salivating over getting this kid? It's almost crazy with all the stuff that's happening. A top 5 transfer portal guy, I only got to 42 minutes in.
I've refused to watch any film of him.
Why? Why is that? That is interesting. You don't want to get too excited, or what?
No, I don't want to. I don't want to get my hopes up and then get burned. And Zach's like, "Oh, we're not going to land him," or Brendan's like, "Yeah, I don't think so." And then I'm gonna have to cuss and kick and scream and have a temper tantrum. I don't want to do that. Not going to do that to myself. I have watched a little bit of his game.
I knew you had to. You couldn't stop. You couldn't go fully cold turkey. Yeah.
He's a long physical corner. I mean, he's what they like. Will play well in his own scheme, will play well in a man scheme. I mean, there's a reason he's rated as highly as he is. Knowles 24/7 had a ton of feedback from his. I think they had a video interview of him. Then they, obviously had a story on it. Fingers crossed, man. Fingers crossed.
We'll get Zach on to let us know what he thought about how the recruitment went as he's still actively scooping some uncommitted guys, or I guess one uncommitted guy from the high school will move to the high school ranks. There's no other transfer portal guys, right? I think I got them all.
Yeah, I think you got them all.
Thanks. You wouldn't correct me anyway. You're such a nice guy. Let's move on to high school recruiting. It was a whole host of FSU commits, and then an uncommitted guy, an offensive lineman, Christopher Otto, and then a Florida commit, wide receiver Andy Jean. I want to talk about Chris Otto first because I did get to watch his post visit interview. It looked pretty good for FSU. Am I right? Did you get to watch that, big guy?
Yeah. Tell me you're committed without telling me you're committed kind of deal.
My favorite was when he asked, "Hey, when are you guys posting this?"
We're gonna post this after Wednesday. Yeah, I mean, he was obviously full of energy, very excited coming off the visit. That's a dude that I don't think people will appreciate the take. I don't think they'll appreciate the get. They'll be happy because it's an offensive lineman and Florida State's landing him. I think that's a guy in a couple of years they're going to look back and say, "Gosh, I can't believe he's rated as low as he is." Really skilled, good feet, athletic, physical, just kind of has the total package there. I don't know if he's a tackle. I think he could probably be a swing type like a Darius Washington, but I think he's more of a guard, and I think he's a people mover.
Okay.
Yeah, his game excites the hell out of me. I would be thrilled if they do land him on Wednesday. it's just more darts at the board, honestly. Even if he doesn't develop, you keep landing these guys, you keep taking your shots, throwing your punches. That's how you find success in the trenches.
I agree with you too. It's a numbers game, right? It's you obviously quality and quantity. We think that this kid is a little bit of an underrated prospect. Do you think that's because like the level of competition that he I know he plays high school football in Key West, right? So
yeah.
What do you think the reason for the underrating is from the film that you've seen?
Man, who knows? I mean,
Right.
did he not go to enough camps? Did he not get, is he because he's in Key West and people just didn't go over and look at him? I don't.
They're lost, man. I love Key West.
The
Big
ratings,
Captain Tony's guy over here.
I don't know. I don't understand the ratings all the time. I mean, 24/7 I think does the best job with them, but
yes,
so many guys, company man, baby. But
always
so many guys fall through the cracks, especially the offensive line. It's the toughest position to project because guys physically develop at different rates. I mean, he could hit a growth spurt in, over the next year and grow another 3 inches, and suddenly he's an elite offensive tackle. You just don't know.
But is he an AB 4-star? From the
yeah,
proprietary Adam Brown recruiting service,
100%.
And that's all I care about.
100%.
Zach is back. He's off
Breaking
mute.
news.
It depends.
Zach.
Would you like to share what the contents of what you were speaking about, Zach, while Adam and I so expertly vamped like that?
Yeah. So just got off the phone with Keldrick Faulk.
Who?
Yeah, just spoke with him. I'm actually going to send this recording to. Oh shoot. Sorry, it was like playing on my phone. I'm going to send the recording to Chris and them to write for the Knowles 24/7 site. Want to bring it here first. So I spoke with Keldrick kind of about what happened today. So basically, he tells me that he went home, worked out, I guess, at home, and his mom told him, yo, you should go check out Auburn, make sure this is the right decision for you.
Okay.
Goes over there, spend some time, said, it went well. And essentially, coming out of that visit, his mom's basically like, I want you to kind of break down these two schools, come to this decision yourself, find out, which one you want to be at, and come to me Tuesday night and tell me where you want to go, and we'll announce it on Wednesday. I asked him where his head is at right now. He says that Florida State feels like the right choice for me. Went in depth about kind of where, his relationships are, the direction of the program at FSU, where things are headed. That was a big, point of emphasis on our phone call just now, is that, the direction, the future of FSU is what, makes FSU the right choice for Keldrick. And that's, he said that multiple times.
You should have put me on the phone, Zach. You should have put me on the phone.
No, keep at no way.
We would have lost him.
No, Jesus, keep this big gruff chicken farmer away from.
You really visited Auburn?
Jesus Christ, Key, don't you care about your future?
Down. Send in the closer.
No, get your Bud Kilmer ass away from any of these kids. All right, Zach, so you spoke with him. So did he outright say that I'm sticking with FSU, or did he say we're the leader right now in the formulation process?
He essentially said that the next 2 days he's going to come down to a decision, but right now where he's leaning is signing, with the school he's committed to in Florida.
More
State.
hedging.
Yeah.
But
so it's not a done deal, but it sounds really good in that, like, his initial thoughts are, I'm sticking with FSU straight off the Auburn visit.
Yep.
And that's right after that post-visit high. Now, Zach, as a guy who has been in the trenches, you're from South Florida, man. You've seen some of the craziest recruitments there is. Do you feel much better, a little better, or about as good as you did after that phone call?
I feel a significant amount better that he's being open and calling, people about this process. Usually when these things happen, obviously I have a relationship with Keldrick, so that's why, I'm able to get him on the phone. I don't think he's picking up the phone for just like anybody.
No.
But he's taking phone calls, which is a good sign, I think. And
I think so too.
He sounded so tired. I'm like, dude, I'm so sorry. Like, I'm not going to take up too much of your time. But he was, dude, that first minute, it was, I could tell he was struggling. I mean, think about how much he's been on the road today. Was in Tallahassee at 6 a.m. in the morning, drove home, worked out, went to Auburn, came back, and is now, just getting home and settling in. So, and that's after on Saturday driving down to Tallahassee from Highland home. So
Mike
the
Norvell has
important thing to
totally
note,
redeemed himself in this last 5
Oh God! If you could see some of the messages that I've seen, we'll see, man. We'll get to Wednesday. I'm not a guy that keeps receipts, but man, I've seen some stuff that has just blown my
11
mind.
a.m. Wednesday at Highland home, he's going to announce where he's signing. Just so that's kind of we'll have a signing day schedule up for FSU fans on noles247.com on Wednesday. But that's if you're trying to time out your day when you wanted to pay attention to that one, that'll be kind of when you want to tune in for the Keldrick Faulk news.
All right. I think this is so representative of these are 17, 18-year-old kids with a ton of information to process. Why is signing day so crazy? Why should you be a member of Noles 24/7 to get all of the info while we're doing projects? We're getting info. We're getting scoop at the same time. Because anything could happen, man. So awesome, positive update. It happened live here Sunday night as we're recording. Zach, while Adam and I tried to kill some time, which I don't think anybody even realized unless they were watching the live stream, we talked about 3 prospects. We talked about Fentrell Cypress, Chris Otto, Andy Jean. Adam already killed time talking about their game. What do you think about their chances to be Noles?
Yeah, so I'll start with kind of the big dog, Fentrell Cypress. Top 5, I think, unanimous transfer portal prospect on pretty much every network right now. Out of Virginia, second team All ACC dude for them this past season. He was on campus for the whole weekend. I want to note here, a big thing that FSU accomplished this weekend was getting him to only visit FSU this week. I was told the original plan this week was for him to go to Ohio State, LSU, and FSU.
FSU he shut down those 2? He shut down Ohio State and LSU?
That was the plan for this week, I was told. And
Brian Kelly's face must have been just gumbo red, dude. Tomato red.
He didn't get to grind on another recruit, poor dude. Cypress had a good time. There's a full interview. He actually talked with us after the visit. I think we went 1 of 5 with transfer guys on campus this weekend. Everyone did. They declined to talk. Besides Cypress, he was a good interview. Talked after meeting with Mike Norvell before departing, and things seemed pretty good there. He was kind of non-committal about when his decision would be made, and whether he'd take his recruitment into January, and didn't really talk about a lot about the other teams involved. I think the main school obviously is UCLA, who hosted him last weekend for an official visit, and to our knowledge, he didn't go anywhere else this week. Obviously, nowhere else this weekend because he left FSU. He kind of close to midday on Sunday. So, realistically, he's not making any, flight to any other visit for an extended period of time. And when I've heard that's the last visit he took this week. So, big deal to get him on campus. And obviously, if he makes the decision in December, things have to be looking at least, it looks like you got probably a 50% shot to land him at the very least with you getting 1 of 2 visits he's taken already in December. If he extends it to January, I would be a little bit more worried because he can get to the likes of LSU and Ohio State and some of the other schools that have been in contact with him. I think Texas is another program that's trying to get involved. But yeah, if you can close this out in December, man, what a big time win it would be. I haven't heard of FSU getting his word of a commitment, but I think they feel decently good about their chances heading out of this weekend for him. With the next name, I guess, Chris Otto. Honestly, he might have been the most positive. If you watch the interview on Noles 24/7,
we talked about that, man. It was really funny asking you. It was great, dude. When are you dropping this? By the way,
like right now. It's like I can't share that. And his laugh is so funny. His face. Brendan and I were laughing so much at his face. He's an awesome.
He's a good kid, man. Yeah.
He's a guy you want in your program, and I think he could be a dude down the line, man. I'm sure AB's already talked about his game, but FSU thinks he has a lot of position versatility along the line. Maybe start him at center, could move him to either guard spot or maybe even tackle. I think he's athletic enough to do that. And I think he's got the right mindset, man. From what I'm told, he's really harsh on his teammates in high school. He kind of said it during the interview. He's like, Maurice Smith came up to him apparently. He was like, yo, we're going to hold each other accountable when you get here. And he really loved that because apparently he's like, yeah, a lot of the players I play with, they just want to put on the jersey and not really play the game. So, and I've heard that's something that FSU actually found out about earlier in the recruiting process for him.
Yeah.
It's a huge green flag for them in recruiting.
A green flag.
Yeah, those are the guys they want to get in their program. And the most notable thing is that he was debating on whether to go December or February for his signing. He's doing it in December, and if you watch the interview on Noles 24/7,
check it out.
It looks like he has the decision made. The crystal ball is all on FSU. I'm not a supporter of the crystal ball, so I'm not going to put one in. I'm not trying to jinx it for you guys, but I like where FSU. I love where FSU sits with 3-star Key West offensive lineman Chris Otto, who took an official over the weekend. What was the last name that you guys were talking about?
Andy Jean, the Florida commit. Once again, a guy that, we kept saying he was going to visit all that stuff, but he actually did visit, man. They got to trust Zach. They got to trust Zach on this stuff. But go ahead. What do we got there?
Yeah, so they got him on campus, obviously, this weekend. I think, UF staff was not loving that happening. Obviously, they were playing out for – I don't know if you want to call that playing, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, that was a great performance there. Yeah, I mean, clearly Andy Jean visiting Florida State really took their mind off the Beavs.
Yeah, so hopefully they got him to watch that game and watch Billy Napier's explosive offense kind of on display. But no, I think it was a good visit for FSU with Andy Jean. From what I'm told, obviously, like kind of the basics, like they felt better about where they stand with him, leaving the visit than they did going in.
That's good.
The cliche. But I do think FSU has some legs in this recruitment. We'll see over the next couple of days whether that materializes into something, where we're starting to talk about a flip. But as of right now, I don't think they got indication, or from what I understand, from what I heard in talking to people after the visit weekend concluded. So I don't think they got indication of a flip, but it's a recruitment that they're definitely involved in. Obviously, I mean, he's taken an unofficial and an official within the past month. So recruitment that they have legit traction in. We'll see if that materializes into anything this week. I heard some reports that he might take it into Friday for a signing, which would be the back half of the early signing period, which begins on Wednesday. But I think he's actually going to sign on Wednesday, from what I heard today.
I think Mike Norvell should just send him clips of Pat McAfee narrating the biggest field goal kick in UF Bowl history, just absolutely cooking them with fake excitement like only Pat McAfee can do. My God, that was bad. That was fantastic. Yeah, just keep spamming his phone with that. So the other guys that were on campus were Florida State commits, and we are going to give these guys all of the attention that we think that their game deserves post-early signing day. These are guys, Hakeem Williams. Obviously, there's a million things you could say about this. Like a top 15 player in the entire country. Consensus 5-star, Vandrevius Jacobs, Lamont Boots Green, Kenton Kirkland, Jabril Rawls, Daryl Jackson, that transfer commit from Miami. These are all guys that are going to get their game talked about for the sake of time, because we are at 57 minutes in. And I want to talk about some guys that Florida State targets that took visits elsewhere this weekend to see if Zach has any info on them. We are going to talk about them. I think that the biggest development out of that group is there was talk that Keith Sampson was going to delay until the traditional signing day.
Yeah.
Is that happening anymore? Because we both looked at each other kind of side-eyed on Thursday, like, hey, that don't need to happen.
Yeah,
way.
They kind of took our advice that we gave on that
You're
podcast.
welcome.
Yeah, basically, if you want to sign with your friends, do so, but you're going to sign your letter of intent on Wednesday. That's what's going to happen. He's going to fax his letter of intent in, or whatever they do nowadays with it. On Wednesday morning, and then he'll sign with his buddies at New Bern in February. So it's a cool moment for him. Obviously, gets to be alongside his teammates. But obviously FSU wants to get him locked in. There's no reason to take his recruitment if he's locked in, which he is. He said, Brendan kind of asked him point blank, "Are you signing with FSU on Wednesday?" He said, "Yes, I'm signing with FSU on Wednesday." So
hey, I like that. Getting to the point.
Yeah. So like that question from Brendan. He's like, "This is kind of an awkward question." I like how he
he asked it. It can't be a great question. It's got to be made awkward right at the beginning. It wouldn't be a Sonone if it wasn't just a smidge of anxiety. Just
and he always makes them like feel bad for him. I think like that he's like kind of nervous. So they like
he's like 35 years old, dude.
So,
make the 17-year-old show pity on you.
Exactly. And then I think with Chris Otto, I want to mention he's apparently a master chef. Like he won the cooking competition this weekend at FSU. He's like, apparently, I think it was him and KJ Kirkland, who's the 4-star defensive back out of Jacksonville, committed to FSU.
Yeah.
Otto was basically telling him, you get this, you get this, you get this, you get this, and like bringing it back and creating this like crazy Alfredo pasta dish. So just wanted to know, he's an all around dude. He's also like in love with film. He wants to be a movie maker if he doesn't, play professional football. And he toured FSU's film school this weekend and absolutely loved that part of it. FSU's film school is really elite. I think we talked about that at length. They only admit, I think, less than like 100 people every year into that program. So it's really competitive, and it's something that he got to tour. And he's not like a guy who's like, man, I like making movies. Like, he's legit about that. I think he won like a film competition this year, earlier in the spring, over there in Palm Beach. So definitely a talented dude, both on and off the football field. And he's literally taken official visits to Princeton, Stanford, and has offers from pretty much every Ivy League school. So really high academic kid, obviously.
I like it. You know, Brendan came up with a very clever nickname for Jordan Travis, J-Trav. I'm going to put my own first on the bench nickname. If Chris Otto commits to Florida State and he's on the team, I want to call him Alfredo Scorsese. That's it. Alfredo Scorsese from now on. That's my nickname. We'll see if it sticks like J-Trav has. Adam, anything you want to talk about that group of really talented? I think I really do like a lot of the focus and the talk, depending on the Faulk thing. If that thing sticks, that's going to nip a lot of this talk in the bud. But the Florida State's high school recruiting versus their transfer recruiting versus their retention efforts, like which one's lapping the other ones. But what do you think about that group of current high school guys that they have committed? I mean, Hakeem Williams, duh. But what do you think about how they've done so far with those guys?
I think it's good. I think there's a lot of developmental pieces in there. I think I really, just for the sake of time, there's two things I want to just mention. I think it's huge. They never got that. Hakeem Williams never took another visit to any other school that we're aware of. I think he took one to Miami right after his commitment, and it was one of those like, "Hey, I told you guys I would do it. You showed me a lot of love."
Yeah, it was like an unofficial for a game, and I think they lost the game too.
He literally never visited another college, and this was the guy that, I mean, there were obviously plenty of opportunities for him to do so. So he never took another visit. And then with KJ Sampson, I was very critical of how they didn't lock down Keldrick Faulk this weekend. Getting Sampson locked down and getting him to sign on Wednesday was massive. That's a huge win for them. That's a big talented defensive tackle that they need in their program for the long term. So hat tip to them for that one.
Or did they lock down Keldrick Faulk? Who knows, my friend?
Yeah.
Find out on Wednesday. All right.
I think a note on Keith Sampson. He told me he's going to start as a 3-tech D lineman for them.
That makes sense.
And then a couple other positions. I think Jabril Rawls said he'll be either a field or boundary corner. I forget which one he said, but he kind of like flip-flopped. And then KJ Kirkland will start at safety for them.
Like that. We like that. And then, of course, Boots. Big Boots fans here, man. Just that kid didn't have a chance. His dad would not let him even set foot on another campus, and that kid works out like a maniac. So shout out to him.
That has a deeper voice than I do.
That's a little Barry White-off right there. That is a lot of bass between you two gentlemen.
That's my guy.
All right, let's talk about a target that did take a visit to Miami this weekend. Let's talk about Conrad Hussey, the 4-star safety from St. Thomas Aquinas. Miami wasn't in this recruitment I think when we spoke on Thursday. Now they're in it heavy. What's going on with Hussey? And then I guess if you want, we got to talk about Edwin Joseph too. I guess we could probably separate that out. But what's going on with Conrad Hussey, man? Another fun South Florida recruitment, as is Edwin Joseph's.
Yeah, so Conrad Hussey does make the official visit to Miami this weekend. Man, it was crazy. So originally it was supposed to be in Colorado. Then that got called off. Then Miami, he was on Miami's campus, spotted there. It wasn't reported that he was going to be there beforehand. It was spotted on campus. Then it was reported. This recruitment's crazy, right? I still think Penn State might sign this kid. He
is a Penn State commit, by the way. This kid that all these other schools have earmarked, he is still a Penn State commitment and has been for a while.
I think he might still sign with Penn State. We'll see with Miami. I know there's some people in his family that want him not at Miami, and some that are entertaining it more so than others. So we'll see. FSU is still involved. I'm not as confident as I was leaving the FSU official visit that he'd end up at FSU. but we'll see. This next couple of days is gonna be crazy. I mentioned the confliction with Miami and their they hired Jason Taylor, who was a former coach at his high school at St. Thomas Aquinas a year ago, and was coaching up, I guess, indirectly. Conrad Hussey, the NCAA has a rule against you hire a school hiring an off-field coach to try and obviously attract a high school talent. To
brother's okay, you can hire the brother. That's not a problem.
Yeah, brother's fine. Brother actually, I think, helped negates that or something, because that's what happened with Ruben Bain. They hired his high school, the Miami Central head coach last season.
But the brother next.
I was asking about that. I don't get, the NCAA is a joke.
Yeah, it sucks.
None of the rules make sense. But I think they might, from what I heard, they might hire Jason Taylor as a full-time coach there, on field. So I have no idea what's going on. That recruitment's insane. I have an idea of what's going on, but more so I don't know what's going to happen over the next 3 days. I think it could go any way. Right now, from what I'm hearing in my last conversation I had about this recruitment, is that Penn State still feels pretty good about where they stand. I don't think FSU is going to give up in this recruitment for sure. NIL is a factor. Don't know if it's the leading factor, but it's definitely a factor in his recruitment. And he'll sign on Wednesday. He'll announce his decision on Wednesday. That's the plan. But who knows? Maybe that's not the plan. Maybe he'll do something crazy. I don't. But yeah, that's the latest I have for Conrad Hussey, a recruitment that's been all over the place over the past 2 weeks since he took that first official visit to FSU. Not this weekend, but this past weekend. So.
Yeah, it feels like it was 8 years ago when the official visit happened. Edwin Joseph, the Chaminade, right? Chaminade Madonna. Mm-hmm. He is the defensive back there. He's a guy that's coveted by Florida State. Has had a long-term relationship with Florida State. Louisville has been lurking. I don't know if Miami's lurking in that one, Zach. Maybe they are. I feel like they might be just a mess with FSU. What's going on with Edwin Joseph, man? We felt good about him. We got that visit in last weekend, but he had that the nationally televised game in Las Vegas, but he ends up at Louisville. South Florida, Louisville, and FSU, man. Another weird one. Shades of Devon Mortimer all over again, or maybe not. What's going on? I did see his official visit spread in his hotel room, and it looked pretty weak compared to ours. So I'm a food guy. That's what I go with. But what's going on with Edwin Joseph, dude?
Yeah, so did end up making like you said, the Louisville official visit after competing in a national championship type game out in Las Vegas on Saturday. If you saw, they photographed him with an FSU logo on his helmet at that game. Okay, so from what I understand, I'm pretty sure that the original plan was for Edwin to announce a commitment at that game before the Louisville visit got set up. So take that, for however you want. But he did make it to Louisville. I think that's the biggest competition. Miami, like you said, is trying to make a late run at him. He was not in town on Friday evening, but they met with his parents. The Miami staff did on for dinner. Yeah. So interesting move there. He gets 1 day at Louisville. He was there into the afternoon/evening from what I saw on his Instagram. So a recruitment that FSU definitely felt good about heading out of last week's official visit. One they continue to feel pretty good about, but definitely going to monitor Louisville down the stretch. We'll see like you said, we saw what happened with Louisville on a South Florida recruit last cycle, and Devon Mortimer kind of stealing him away on signing day from FSU. So definitely a recruitment that FSU fans should monitor. Obviously not a commitment to FSU like Mortimer last cycle, but a guy that FSU felt really good about last week, and someone I think personally they need to close on.
You think they will at this point? Sunday night?
It's
subject to change.
Yeah,
go ahead, couch it with the Faulk language, but subject to change. But what do you think?
It's hard to get new information when a kid's on a campus. You're not really.
That's fair. Yeah,
that kid's not really communicating a ton with other staffs while he's on a visit. So it's hard to. I'm not a Louisville reporter, so I don't really know exactly how that visit's going. Yeah. So I'll get more on that probably tomorrow on how that went and how FSU feels. But definitely an important one for me. I think FSU needs to go ahead and land him. There's no reason you should lose him to Louisville.
Have you heard any rumblings that he and Conrad Hussey would like to try to play together if possible?
package deal. What else
Um,
could we add to the early signing day cliche South Florida sandwich, but the tried and true aioli of a package deal? Jesus, man.
Yeah, I don't think they're a package deal, but I think that they would like to if possible. And I think
Yes.
the plan was to maybe play at Florida State together, and then some wrenches have been thrown into that. But I think that's why Penn State suddenly started showing a lot of interest in Edwin Joseph here late to try to secure Conrad Hussey. And then I think that's also why Miami's getting so involved with the two of them. So I'm curious to see how this show ends.
I've heard the same thing, that the two have discussed that at the very least, and that was mentioned to me actually by two different people. I'm sure we're not talking to the same people either. So, interesting that we kind of heard the same thing, but I don't know. But we know about like package deals; they almost never happen.
They never happen.
So we'll see. But this, it's going to be crazy. I mean, two South Florida recruitments that could go any direction. I'm driving down to South Florida tomorrow. That's where I live. When I'm not at FSU, where I'm from. So gonna spend some time with family. But on Wednesday, gonna run it back like last year. Last year I got only to go to one school just to see Dante Anderson and Daniel Lyons signed with FSU.
Hey,
chaos,
good hit rate.
Chaos
Good hit rate.
ensued. I was literally right outside Omar Graham's school to go, cover his signing, just because he's a longtime commit guy that I got the privilege of covering for a long time, developed a good relationship with, but did not get to go to that school because of what happened last year. Had to go back and kind of set up shop and deal with the craziness of that day. Not a fun memory. I hope that's not what happens this year. I don't think it will, but going to be down there again, kind of making the rounds, and hopefully at maybe Edwin Joseph, Conrad Hussey. We'll see at one of their announcements if things look good for FSU.
I think that's a good point, man. Everybody wants to use this year versus last year. Watch the close. And we are starting to I understand the trepidation. I do feel like people are jumping the gun, like getting pre-mad before the bad thing happens. Guys, just wait. If the bad thing's going to happen, we'll all be mad together. But it is very interesting that you are starting to see like kind of rumblings of how the disaster could happen on early signing day. And it looks like Mike Norvell and the staff are doing a better job of putting out those fires, like what we heard with Keldrick Faulk as of Sunday night at 10:42 p.m., right? It does feel like they're more aware of it. It's so fascinating. Wednesday's going to be so fascinating. And Knowles 24/7, best place to be for it. Jeremiah Byers, he's the last guy that I want to talk to you about before we get off. He took a split visit, right? Did he go to Ohio State and Oregon this weekend? Like, this was a guy that Florida State felt very good about. This is the UTEP offensive lineman. What's going on with Byers? Have you heard anything about that? Florida State still feel good about him. Normally, once these transfers are done with their decisions, could maybe see a commitment like we did with Roddick. What do you think's happening with Byers?
From what I understand, that's what Byers told Chris before the weekend, is that he was going to go to Oregon and Ohio State this weekend. I think FSU views Oregon more as a threat in this one, because I think they don't know, or they don't believe that Ohio State's truly. I shouldn't say that. I think Ohio State is kind of fringe on Byers and multiple other prospects in the portal that they're evaluating. They sent out an offer, or he reported an offer from Ohio State this past week. So I guess it's kind of TBD on whether they want to take him or other guys. That
like how high of a priority he is for them. Whereas Florida State and Oregon, he's there clear. Like, this is a 100% take. We want this kid yesterday.
Yes, I think Oregon's like fully in on him. Ohio State maybe is iffy, but they want to give him for last OV. Obviously, they have the name to do that, and being such a premier school. So FSU still felt good at last check with Byers. I know going into the weekend they felt pretty good. I think out of the two visits he took last weekend with FSU and Maryland, they felt like they probably would come out on top if he made a decision this past week. So we'll see if Oregon or Ohio State made a move. We'll check in this week with Byers. Hopefully sometime during all this craziness with high school recruiting in the finish. But things look good, and continue to hear good things about that recruitment, honestly.
Zach, I need a cigarette, brother. What a just an action-packed episode. We're still not even at early signing day yet, guys. I mean, we had a commitment happen mere seconds before we got on. We got an on-air recruiting call with Scoop, Zach, that Adam and I had to cover for. It's been a hell of an episode. It's going to be an absolutely psychotic week, and we will be here at Knowles 24/7 giving you all the updates that you so deserve. Guys, for the people that have been with us on the YouTube live, love you guys. We're going to keep trying to do some more content on YouTube. Zach launched his own unique IP, The Official Visit, starring Zach Blostein.
Love it.
I think we'll probably be getting an episode of that this week. There's going to be so much content floating around on the site. We love you. Stick with us. We'll help you keep your sanity, or we'll be, a nice little shoulder for you to cry on in case Wednesday sucks. Who knows? We know that we're not going to suck. Knowles 24/7 is always going to be with you there. So, guys, tell everybody, subscribe, tell your friends to subscribe, 5 stars, blah, 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 all that cool stuff. I am Trey Rowland. That was Adam Brown. That was Zach Blostein. Get some rest, boys. Wednesday's going to be a movie.
Going to be a wild
Love
ride.
you all, and keep chopping on.
See you, boys.